Keep you guessing till the very end.
Oh, hello, hello, hello. I see we've got a few people in here already. Let's get this thing started. Along with all kinds of notifications. um, so, my very first YouTube video was titled Me, and it lasted just over 5 minutes. I didn't say very much. Well, I have the opportunity to redo it and say a little bit more about me. So if you have any questions that you'd like to know, just throw them out there and I'll answer them for you as best I can. You know, there we go. So let's get this started. Well, it all started on a cold winter day. In February, I do believe that's when I was thought of. And 9 months later, I was born. Just kidding, guys. Um, is due going to be 10. Well, let's see. Do. It can be. I don't know. It should. Is due going to be 10. Are you speaking Japanese? um, so, yeah. So 53 years ago, I was born on a cold November day. Hey, Stubbs. Hey, Randy, Gloria. Who's due? I'm due. I got a baby in my belly here. Sorry, guys. I threw the link out if anybody wants to come up and chat with me. But anyways, I'm 53, so 53 years ago, November, I was born, and uh, I was a pretty decent kid. I was a pretty good kid compared to my brother, who was a hellion. And I grew up pretty normal, if you want to call it normal. I grew up in the biker lifestyle, basically. My dad was in a couple clubs. Um, Mom always rode on the back of him on his bikes until I was able to ride. Then I went on runs with my dad. Um, Hi, Donna. So I went on runs with him, like to um, House on the Rock in Wisconsin, West Coast, South Dakota, all that. Start up new chapters and stuff for their club. Anyways, one of the earliest memories I had was the Beatles visiting the Queen of England. Now, that happened in the summer of 1969. I was born in the fall of 69. So, how did I remember that? I saw it on TV sometime after I was born. Turn the TV down. I ain't gonna turn the TV down. The Masked Singer's on. And how you can hear that, I don't know. Well, anyway, the remote likes to work once in a while. That'll have to work. Well, anyways, I remember that, seeing it on TV. Don't know what age, but that's my earliest memory I have. Um, I remember I remember my dad pulling his Harley in the back of the yard, rebuilding the engine and putting it back together. I got a picture of it, and when I asked him about it, he said that he had just gotten it back from being rebuilt, and he was going through doing something, and he was putting it back together, getting ready to sell it, turn it in for a bigger bite. And so I remember that it was a Sportster, a gold edition Sportster, I do believe it was, and that was early 70s. Well, anyways, I grew up in a trailer park. I have no qualms about it. I'm not ashamed of it. It was actually pretty good. I loved it. Uh, my aunt lived door. My mom's older sister lived next door with her husband and two kids at the time. So that was uh, that was pretty good. Learned how to ride my first bicycle there. I remember that pretty well. My dad and his friends came back from smelt fishing, and my dad decided to take my training wheels off so I could go ride my bike, and for the first time without them. And so I took off, went around the block a few times, and came one of the last times I passed the house. My dad was unloading garbage cans full of smelt, which needed to be cleaned. And if you don't know what a smelt is, it's like a minnow, almost. It's about the size of a minnow, maybe a little bit bigger. That in northern Minnesota, they would, when the smelt start to run, they would go up to these streams with nets and garbage cans, and they would just stand in the stream and just scoop them up, throw them in the garbage cans because um, they're on their um, mating run, basically laying the eggs. And you just scoop them up, put them in the garbage can, haul them in. We had about 5 garbage cans full. Hi, Frosty. And anyways, I was going around, coming back from going around the block the third time, something like that. And the owner of the trailer park was walking down. He had a big sign, the thing that you drive signposts into the ground. He had one of those. And he said something to me, and I'm sitting there cruising along. Next thing you know, over I went and split my eyebrow open pretty bad. And he dropped what he was doing, picked me up, and brought me to my mom and dad's, brought me home, and they brought me into the doctor and got me stitched up. Um, I love that man. He was a pretty decent man. Uh, Loved family. He loved kids. He loved people. He took care of the things that he needed to take care of. He just loved life. And to drop what he was doing and brought me home, that was pretty cool. You know. So that brings me up from being born up to age like 5, 6, something in there. I rode my bike. Well, I went to kindergarten and
Doing the same thing with a giant, heavy costume and
2 towns over
mask on was very difficult.
because I don't know why I didn't go to kindergarten in my hometown. I have no idea why. I was a kid, I didn't care. And I went with my one cousin, so a grade above me, and a cousin that was a grade behind me. We all went to the same school. But when it came to first grade, I went to elementary school in my hometown when they continued out in the other town. And that's fine. Stopped me from kicking the youngest's butt. Anyway, they lived next door to me, and that was fun because we come summertime we had a pool. We went over there, we played. Had a slip and slide in my yard, so we played with that. And there was a sidewalk that split between the houses to the trailers to go down to the lower level and storage units. We were outside one day playing in the pool, and a bird came and shit on my cousin's head, the younger one. That was pretty funny, playing in the pool. I wasn't playing in the pool that day because my mom and dad told me not to, and my mom was watching and was getting pretty pissed at me for just being out there. But anyways, my bird shit on my cousin's head, and hi Genevieve. Yep, Genevieve. And he went inside. His mom washed his hair and came out, blown dried everything, and he didn't get in the pool no more. Um, so that was pretty. That was one of a good time. Good time. You know. If I remember right, before they moved in, or it had to have been shortly after they moved out, one of the two, neighbor at the time had a yard sale, and um, and he had 2 tables full of boxes of records, 33s, and I was about 8 at that time, something like that. Yeah, you came in as I was saying that a bird shit on my cousin's head. That was pretty bad luck, Gloria, because nothing went right for him for that week. But the neighbor at that time, he was an older man, um, lost his wife. I don't know. That was a long time ago. I don't know how long she had passed at that time. But I was out there looking at the records, and it started to rain. And I saw one record that I really wanted. And I told my dad, he packed everything up, brought it in the house. I told my dad I wanted this record. And he goes, "Which one?" So we went over there, and I went and I pulled it out. And it was my first record was Kiss Destroyer. That was my first record. Bought it in a garage sale for a quarter. My mom had a record player that she let me use so I could listen to it, and then my dad kept yelling at me to turn it down. It wasn't very loud, but he just didn't like me to play it. You know. So that was my very first record, was Kiss Destroyer for a quarter. Yeah, and I still have the record too. Scratched, the record's pretty scratched, so I went and got me another copy of it. But I still have the record, my very first record that I bought for a quarter. Yes, yes, that was the very beginning of my record collection. I don't remember having anything up after that until we moved down the street, and then I bought my very own turntable with speakers. Um, I think it was a Stevens turntable, and I got that. No, that was a little bit later. Um, I had my mom's turntable, and one Easter, I got um, the Village People's YMCA 33, and I don't know why. I think it's because the record player wasn't working at the time. But I went over to my neighbor's house and he let me play it both sides. And for a while. And I was friends with his kid too, which was a few years younger than me. It wasn't shortly after that then I got my own turntable. You know, complete with speakers. I paid $40 for it out of my savings account that I had money put away from doing stuff around the trailer park. And then I went and got the Manhattan Transfer um, Boy from New York City. That was a 45. And Nick Gilder's Hot Child in the City, which is also a 45. I still have both those put away in with all my other 45s and my other 33s, which is all fit in one cabinet. And I have now got more 33s from a friend of mine in the garage. And we just brought home 3 boxes out of 5 full of 33s from her parents' house. And we had to leave 2 boxes there because the corners were splitting. We couldn't pick them up without them falling apart. So we got, next year we'll go up and get those. But in one box, we even got a bunch of 78 RPM records. 78 people. You can't find those anymore. Anywhere. But yeah. So Kiss was the start of my record collection, and it just spawned from there. So when I started getting 45s, my mom got me a little 45 record case, and it was Donnie and Marie on it because I was into Donnie and Marie at the time. And then I got older, and then I spray painted the whole thing white because I didn't want to be associated with Donnie and Marie. But I love Donnie and Marie, you know. They were very good, very talented. And that's where I carried my 45s around. I had about 15, 20 of them at the time. Hi, poor dirt farmer. Florida. Ooh. You guys get some pretty good weather down there. Knock it off! Sorry about that, guys. Dogs fighting. Anyways, okay, so that brings me up to about 7, 8. By that time, I've already um, ridden my own bike, started my record collection, and I got my foot caught, left foot, I think, caught in the back spokes of a bigger bicycle that I was riding on the back of. And I was told that I couldn't do much at that point. I couldn't ride my bike or anything like that. And I was in Cub Scouts at the time. And, they were learning how to do the elephant walk, the crab walk, and all kinds of this, little fun things. And being as my foot was hurt, I couldn't ride a bike. There's a lot I couldn't do, but what I did do is the kids were riding their bikes. I was doing the crab walk up and down the street. I was keeping up with them too. That was pretty funny. My parents could tell you all about that, you know. And I still have the scar on my foot and the inside of my heel, you know. So as a kid, that was pretty traumatizing. I never ever rode on the back of any other's bike after that. You know, if you got any questions, throw them out there. I'll answer them. You know. Um, so, and I was still in elementary school from at that time. That happened. You know, again, elementary school is pretty good. My third grade teacher became my fifth grade teacher. You know, which is I loved one of my fifth grade, fourth grade teacher was pretty good. She passed away a few years ago. Um, I miss her. She was a fun teacher. You know, but yeah, all the way up till my elementary years, I was pretty normal, pretty decent. Um, like I said, as a kid living in a biker lifestyle because my dad was in clubs in and out. So I was around motorcycles ever since I was born. Um, I entered middle school, and that's where I met one of my closest friends ever. You all know him as XS650 on Discord. I know him as Rick. We met in the sixth grade in I want to say 1980, 81, because we went into high school in 84. Um, Rick has been one of my closest friends ever since sixth grade, and we've been through thick and thin together. I mean, we've been through it all. Um, the fight, actually, we've never fought, but we've always people are picking on us, so we stood up for each other, and I went to jumped on my bike, rode my bike to his house. He's come over to my house when we were kids, and yeah. But anyways, that's where I met Rick in sixth grade, and his parents didn't want me to hang out with him or him hang out with me because they were afraid they were going to catch, all you know, pimples from me because my face was pretty broken out at the time. I had really bad acne and very oily skin, as you can see the from the pits on my face. Well, he told his parents that you can't catch acne from just being around someone. And then we became the greatest of friends. I called his mom, mom, his dad, dad. Great, wonderful people, and that's where I also met our mutual friend, Cherry, um, who passed away much later and didn't make it out of high school. That'll be later though. So let's see. Sixth grade was pretty normal. Like I said, I met Rick. Uh, we were pretty much me, Rick, and Terry were like you couldn't tear us apart. We were that close. Um, they lived in Carver. I lived in Chaska. One town over. We rode bikes to each other's houses. Um, it was about maybe a half-hour bike ride, you know, at the most. Um, Terry would take out his two BB guns, and we'd go hunt rabbits. We'd try practice and stuff like that. Rick would come up, and we would just walk up and down the streets and the playgrounds and the ballparks and just cause all kinds of trouble and problems for everybody there. And you know, um, Terry's mom sold Avon, which sold Avon to my mom, and that's how I found out that our parents knew each other because uh, you know Terry was her son. Well, anyways, we'd go up the road, and it was paved and then a dirt. Well, then we ran into some more of our high school friends that lived up that way, and threw rocks in the grass, walked in the cemeteries up there. Um, Back then, you could do that. You can't do that really now. You know, stayed overnight at their places. Well, I'm going to fast forward this up a bit because seventh grade really wasn't that fascinating, other than, you know, we started getting bullied at that point in middle school. Uh, Me, Rick, and Terry. And it's not fun. It's not fun getting bullied by people that you thought you were your friends. And, I would get hit and pushed and all that kinds like that. Even on the bus, I got bullied and pushed around. There was one instance where it was spring. Kids just wanted to beat me up for some reason. Well, got off the bus and they put their jacket down right where you would step when you get off the bus. Well, I couldn't avoid it. I stepped on the jacket and I took off running down to the house. And my dad was standing outside. I got up there. They um, got to my dad, and my dad started getting on him. What are you doing chasing my son? Well, he stepped on my jacket, and he looked at me and said, they put the jacket right down in front of the steps of the bus. So I said, I had no choice. I had to step on the jacket. And my dad told him, he said, you lay one hand on my son, you're going to be speaking to the police, and you're going to be dealing with me. They didn't listen too much, and um, I had to take matters in my hands at that point. And I went down on a weekend. They called me out. Hey, we're going to kick your ass. You're going to be down here at this time, or we're going to come find you. So I went down there to a kid's house, and they weren't. He wasn't going to do anything until someone pushed me, and I fell over. And then he decided he was going to take advantage of that. That didn't work out um, too well for him because he may have thrown the first punch. I threw the last punch, pinned him down, repeatedly punched him in the eye, and I looked at him and said, "That's it. You ain't messing with me no more. You mess with me one more time, and you're gonna get another beating like I just gave you." He didn't mess with me after that, and it was quite a few years before I got messed with again. But and it didn't help that the girl or the kid's house that I was at beating the shit out of this my bully. The kid's sister liked me a lot, so that didn't help, and that carried on all throughout school, high school as well. And by this time, I've already been on the ridden to um, House on the Rocks in Wisconsin, all over northern western Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, all that on the back of a motorcycle to start with my dad to start motorcycle chapters for his club. You know, a lot of camping trips too, to where you had to, you're a kid, so your chore was to collect firewood, kindling, and big sticks and stuff like that. Being as a kid, you weren't very, you didn't expected to do much really. But you still had a chore. Dinner was done, you cleaned up, you were in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock. No ifs, ands, or buts. You were allowed to be a kid, but if you stepped one toe out of line, you pretty much got a whooping, depending on what you did. You know, um, being a kid in a biker family has its up and downs. You learn to fight for yourself, but you also learn to have to look the other way most of the time because you weren't. That's not what you were about. That's not what the clubs were about. You know. But anyways, so I get into high school. Oh, I missed one detail. I got detention in middle school because we had a teacher strike, which was the second longest teacher strike in that at that time in Minnesota. And they made the mistake of saying, "Hey, you can go out and support your teachers, but you have to come back to class." And that was more toward the spring too. So the bell rang, and we will go outside to support our teachers. And the after 5 minutes, the bell rang. We were supposed to go back in. Well, most of the kids walked out of school, met up with the high school, and walked down to downtown Chaska and heard what the high schoolers had to say, because what were we going to say? We weren't doing much. And what it turned, and they marched right back to school. And I looked at my friends and they looked at me and were like, "Wait, we walked out of school for this?" And you know, so what we did is we bummed around town, went and then went home. But yeah, we walked out of school because the high schoolers got pissed off, then went back to tell a librarian off. Yeah, cool. Like I said, if you guys got any questions, throw them out there. I'll answer them. But so I've come from a biker family, biker background. Um, Pretty decent kid growing up. I have a younger brother. Mom and dad pretty cool. I've got numerous uncles, numerous aunts. My dad's side of the family, it's him. Uh, he's got an older sister and two brothers. My mom has got a brother, two sisters. Well, my one uncle, he's got 9 kids. One's got 6. He actually two got 6, and then my dad has 2, and then I don't know how many on my mom's side has got kids. But anyways, so that's that. Um, Uncle was brought up Mormon. I was brought up Baptist. I'm not Baptist anymore. I'm pagan. So y'all know I'm a pagan. That's my beliefs. I follow the old world, the old ways. So if you don't like that, then well, sorry to scare you off. But anyways, I had a friend die who decided to take his life in 10th grade. That was my friend Terry. Um, he was being bullied pretty hard in school, and we had just gotten into an argument and a fight about a month before. And I remember coming into school that day, and I didn't see him. We had just talked and made up, patched up our friendship, and started hanging out again. And the previous day we had talked, and he was smiling, and we were going to go out and do something over the weekend. Came in the school the next day, didn't see him, and found out he had taken his own life. I was in biology class that morning. It was my first class. One of the gals in the class, her father was a fireman for the city, and he was on the call. That was a pretty hard thing to deal with. You know, I was 14 at the time dealing with that. Rick, when he had to go home for the day, he couldn't stick around school. It just bothered him too much. I stuck it out. So for the rest of the year, the school got us into a counselor at the school, and once a week we would meet with this counselor and do work and talk and get feelings out and our thoughts out. And that was in 85, 86. So um, for those who don't know, schools weren't really big on that. They didn't really get you help, but we were all pretty close, so they got us help right away. I was in the high school basketball team in my freshman and sophomore year. Um, My first car was a 77 Datsun B210. You don't see Datsuns anymore now. They're Nissans. My dad had a 71 Chevy Caprice that was a 354 barrel. That was a fun car to drive. AM station, AM radio. You didn't have an FM radio in that car. It was all AM. Gas guzzler from hell. And at that time, when I was starting to drive, gas was 99 cents. And get that, 99 cents. And dog's growling. Well, anyways, after that, I, you know, damn near totaled the Chevy. I was going down a dirt road at 50 miles an hour and decided to take a hairpin turn at 50 some miles an hour, jump railroad tracks, thinking, okay, I can do this and launch myself in the air and turn the car in midair and it would go where I wanted it to go. Whatever possessed me to think that way, I have no clue. Needless to say, I knew I wasn't going to make it, hit the brakes. Car didn't turn like I wanted it to because it was on a dirt road. It went straight ahead, jumped a huge ditch, back end hit a big ass tree because there was a dent in the back of the car by the time I was done. Rolled down the hill, hit a bunch of smaller trees, and by the time we stopped, I was at the bottom of the hill and we had to be pulled back up to the top of the hill by a tow truck. Luckily, we came out alive on that. We should have been dead, but luck was with us that day. Yeah, whatever possessed me to think a car could turn in midair, I have not a clue. And I was sober. I was not doing any drugs or anything. And that was with one of my closest friends, Art, at the time, who I have not seen in 30 some years. Um, but, anyways, after I had that car, I moved on to a 77 Monte Carlo hardtop 350. Oh, that was a sweet ride. Oh, God. Um, I had a 8-foot Francis whip in the back of the car on the bumper with a bumper mount. Ran the coax up through the trunk, through the back seats, and I had my CB in there. That was a lot of fun. Talking CB, my CB handle was Minnesota Animal at the time. We went around town with all my other friends. We're talking on CB all the time. My dad was in a CB club. His handle was Yellow Canary. Um, but that was a lot of fun. Um, Damn it, there was something in there I was going to say, but I can't remember. But anyways, um, Monte Carlo was maroon with a white top, and then you put that 8-foot Francis whip on the back, which is a white. And CB, I sat in a valley talking skip, you know, from Minnesota and hitting Mexico and all that by talking skip. Which is, if you don't know what skip is when it comes to CB, is your signal is bouncing off the clouds. That's what skip is, and you just bounce and bounce and bounce until someone picks it up. And most of the time, it was Hispanic, so which most likely Mexico or Central America, that we picked up and talked to all the time. Every once in a while, we would pick somebody up from like Texas or Nevada on skip, and the signal would be so strong, it's like you're sitting right there next to them. My junior and senior years are pretty decent. Uh, Again, I got junior year, I got bullied by one kid who was in my woodshop class, came down the steps from the school and says, "What are you looking at?" I said, "I don't." I looked him straight in the eye. I said, "I have no idea what I'm looking at. When I figure it out, I'll tell you." And he gets in my face. He goes, "You want to go through the glass doors?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go through them, and then I'll get up and I'll go throw you through the other one." And he looked at me and goes, "You're fucking, you're pretty fucking insane." I said, "Yeah, don't you fucking forget it either." Walked away, and well, he was building a gun cabinet in woodshop, and he decided to. I shouldn't say decided. He had lost his gun cabinet plans, which was a little different from the gun cabinet I was building, and I found that out in gym class because we had gym together, and I went up to him and said, "Hey, I heard you lost your gun cabinet plans." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "If you'd like, I know yours isn't exactly like mine, but you can use my plans just to, for the base of the top and the bottom to figure that stuff out if you would like." And he goes, "No, our teachers got me a set of backup plans for me. That's what I'm going to use." And I said, "All right, so if you ever need plans, just let me know." And after that, he was the nicest person to me, and he said, "If anybody bothers you, to let them know." I didn't have to. Nobody bothered me after that. Um, he made it known no one was to mess with me. So, and I haven't seen him for over 30 years either. Kind of wonder what he's doing. He was a pretty decent person after I stood up to him, and then was pretty nice. You know, and I graduated in 1988, class of 400 some people from a small rinky-dink town. Pretty good. Um, I didn't have that Monte Carlo until late 80s, early 90s, because we had a blizzard in 91, Halloween blizzard, where I was working at the Burger King in the Eden Prairie Mall, and I had to buy a shovel to shovel my car out from, oh God, it was plowed up around my car. I had to shovel it out. I think we had about two, maybe 3 feet of snow that in that blizzard. I had to bring another person home, not to I think Rick was working with me at the time, and we had to. I No, he didn't work. He wasn't working with me. I had to bring somebody home in Chaska at the holiday station. Well, anyways, I put it in low gear and headed out. The snow plows weren't even doing much. I was ahead of a snowplow. They were following me. I was in a 77 Monte Carlo 350 in low, going down Cliff Road, because on the other side was a valley of a swamp. doing about 40 miles an hour, making a trail, and the plows were following me because I knew this road like the back of my hand. The plows were following me. Got to the Holiday in Chaska, whipped my car in, dropped the person off. There's a state trooper sitting there. He wasn't doing nothing, just sitting there. Next thing you know, I go taking out, and the state trooper, I look back, and that state trooper was just shaking his head. And I got home and parked the car. Halloween blizzard of 91. Yeah, that was a pretty bad one. So um, wife is getting ready for bed. So that there's up to my high school years. If you got any questions, like I said, throw them out there. Um, I'll answer them for you. You know, uh, I have a seizure disorder. I actually didn't get my license until just out of high school. Well, in high school. Yep. Um, I made the mistake of saying I have seizures, so I had to go through the doctor and wait one whole year. This that. Worked at Burger King in Eden Prairie. Worked at a Hardee's. Worked at a Target. I had a 77 Firebird. That was primer gray. That was a work piece being done. That was a fun car to ride. Pretty noisy, but it was a fun car. And I had lived on my own for the first time um, in apartments not too far from my mom and dad's. And then I moved out into Eden Prairie in a basement. Then I moved back home a couple times here and there, and then moved across the street. And one night I was working, and met with the people there, and hey, let's go out some night. So we said, yeah, let's do it. I live right here in town. Let's go to the Z Bar, which is no longer standing. It's a Walgreens now. And said, so okay, let's go to the Z Bar. Well, a friend of mine I knew from working at Target got in a motorcycle accident with her husband, where her husband was killed in Shakopee. They were in Shakopee when that happened. And she was pretty well messed up, scalp pulled back, everything. She was pretty messed up. Ended up with a rod down her back. Wasn't supposed to have kids anymore. She was pretty messed up. And last I heard, she had the crash had killed her. Well, little did I know, I went to the bar with a friend of mine that night, a gal from work, and we're sitting at the bar talking and having beers, and lo and behold, who walks up? The gal that was supposed to be dead from that crash. Um, After that, my friend decided to take off, asked if I would be all right. I said, yeah, I can just walk home. I'm not too far. And so I went and she came back up. The gal came back up. I started talking to her and said, hey, I heard you were killed in that crash. She goes, no, but my husband was killed. And she told me everything that was wrong with what happened to her and how long of a recovery she had. It took her years. She had to learn how to walk again, everything. And she goes, come sit at our table. So I went and joined her at her table. and sat down next to her friend and said, "This is so and so," and looks at her and goes, "This is so and so. We used to work each other at Target with each other at Target, and you know." And they started playing Metallica, so I'm starting to headbang. And I looked at this girl. I said, "Excuse me, I have to puke. I'll be right back." Went, did my business, came back, sat down, and she became my first wife. We were together for 20 years. She had a son and a daughter who I call my kids. Um, Literally, I call them mine. Their real dads wanted nothing to do with them. So I took them. And now I got three, a granddaughter and two grandkids, two grandsons, three grandkids total. And they live down in Arkansas with their mom. And um, their dad is down there too, but they're not together. They haven't been together for a while, quite a long time. So yeah, that's how I met my first wife. Um, we went through thick and thin together. Um, so, as a matter of fact, my daughter was 6, and my son was 1 when I met them. When we got together. Hey SSW, how you doing there, brother? I miss you, man. Haven't seen you around for a long time. So, my son's first word was Big Bird. And I would lift my daughter every time she did good in school. I'd lift her up so she could touch the ceiling, get her coloring books down. Uh, that was a pretty good time. Um, 20 years with this one woman was my first wife, and I don't regret any of it. Um, it was a big part of my life. Um, but we had I ended up moving around a lot because things just weren't going good at the time. We had fallen on hard times, and we were actually homeless for about 2 months. Um, my boy went down to Iowa to live with his dad for a little bit, and my daughter stayed with some friends until we found a place to live, which was fine. But anyways, um, we finally settled. Actually, my daughter was all grown at that time when we were homeless. Um, Son was still in school, but we ended up settling um, back in Belle Plaine, up above a bar. That's where we started to live um, when everything was done. And that didn't last very long. We stayed with some friends for a little bit and took over their apartment when they moved out. And then we moved across the hall, then back. And um, not realizing my marriage was falling apart at that time. The moment I realized that my marriage was over, before I get into that, I was in a bar poker league, playing poker pretty heavily, and my daughter comes home from moved back from Arkansas, This is one of the best times in my life I've ever had. Um, my daughter was pregnant with my first grandchild, and didn't realize it, but we figured it out. She called me at work and told me she was pregnant. She was crying. I just told her, I said, "Sweetheart, you're my daughter, and I'm upset that you got pregnant without being married first, but I'm not gonna disown you or anything." I said, "You're my daughter. I love you. We will get through this, and we will work this out." And that's when she said, "Daddy, I really, really love you. Thank you." And yeah, so that was when my daughter was pregnant with my granddaughter. It was in 2009 that happened. But before I continue on with that, I left out some good piece of information with my first wife. Is that my first bike, thanks to Rick XS650, my very first bike on my own was a 77 Yamaha 650 twin. And some things were wrong. I took it in to get it fixed and had to let it go. Electric start and kickstart. I really missed that bike. And the reason why I didn't ride for motorcycle for almost 20, no, not for 20 years. I was almost out for 20 years, but she didn't want me to, um, but she didn't want me to have another bike, so I didn't ride for a long time. The biggest mistake I've ever done was to give up riding for a woman. No, won't happen again because that's a big part of who I am, who I was. So, um, back to this one. So my daughter comes home pregnant, calls me crying and tells me, and I told her we'll get through it. I was there for every part I could for her. I don't think I went to the doctor's appointments, but I believe I did drive her. And so you couldn't tell your dad that you was pregnant. Was your dad that much of a prick that you couldn't tell him, or were you just afraid of what he might have said and done? Yes, it is a joy. Grandchilds are always fun. You know, um, took care of my daughter. She lived with us for a while. Then she got a place with some friends of ours. Um, we got her a crib. We got her things that she needed, um, car seat. Being responsible grandparent. You know, helping their daughter out, being a responsible parent. Well, parent, not parent. It this part coming up because it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen and have ever experienced. Ever. The most beautiful thing. The father of my granddaughter couldn't make it home. And that was the love of my daughter's life at the time. Couldn't make it up to be there for the birth of the child of my granddaughter. So she asked me if I would be there in the room along with her mom. while all this is going on. Well, she wouldn't go into labor on her own, so they had to induce her. So we brought her in that morning. I took the work off. I said, "Hey, my daughter's going to have a baby, and she wants me there." And I sat there with her. They gave her an epidural because she couldn't handle the pain anymore. I held her hand. I talked to her. I comforted her. Then they came in to they kept checking her, and she was getting dilated. And then when she hit close to 10, she was close to 10. They said, "All right, we're inducing, all this, and broke the water, everything." I sat there at my daughter's side, coaching her, telling her everything's all right. And this was kind of a hard pregnancy for her because um, she had two brothers that died shortly after birth because they had ophaloceles, where where the insides were on the outside of their body. Um, so this was pretty touchy for her. Um, I got to see my granddaughter born, literally head first and all. I got to see her born. I got to see her come out. 2:57 p.m. Not going to give the date. I believe she was 8 pounds 2 ounces 21 inches. That's my granddaughter. All I got to see her born. The most beautiful thing I've ever seen was life being given, life, seeing life being present like that. God, that was so beautiful, so wonderful. Um, you can never top that once you see that. Oh. But anyways, I raised my granddaughter for the first 6 months of her life, um, because my daughter was always working and trying to support her. And, well, grandma and grandpa were always watching. My granddaughter would sit at my computer with me and play my computer games like Icewind Dale and all that. Um, I would sit on the bed with her. She'd cradled up on on my knees and entertain her for hours. I was the one who taught my granddaughter how to spit by 6 months. And by the time she was 6 months old, I taught her how to spit. And I still get blamed for that. you know. Um, so I was a big part of my granddaughter's life for 6 months. And then my daughter moved back down to Arkansas to be with the dad. And after that, I didn't get to see my next two grandkids born. Um, my grandson, we got there a day or two after he was born, and then the youngest, he was born and we came down later. Um, I don't love them any less or any more than my granddaughter. I love them all equal. They're all beautiful, beautiful people. So um, they're all living down in Arkansas. My daughter's with a different guy. I've met him once. Actually, when the last time we were down there, he was with us all the time, uh, over all the time, talking and doing stuff with us. Good guy, really good guy. Better treat my daughter right, or I'm going to put my foot up his ass. You know, once you're a dad and you got that daughter, you're always going to protect your daughter no matter what. Even if you can't do it, you're always going to try to protect her. Well, anyways, moving right along because I'm at over an hour. Things happened with me and my first wife. She had cheated on me at one time before we got married, then cheated on me while we were married with one of my closest friends at the time, which we are no longer close. And she cheated on me for the last time on Christmas Eve with my best friend's husband. Yep. It was Christmas Eve. My best friend has a special needs child. I believe he's in his 30s now. Anyways, a very special needs child. He was in the hospital, not doing so well. She was there. Her husband stayed behind at the house. We were over there to help celebrate a little bit of a Christmas there was. She went to the hospital with him, and he came back, and they went at it. I found that out a month or two later. Tried to patch things up, and that's when the summer hit. I'm like, I can't do this no more. And later that year, I asked for the divorce. Um, that is deep. It is, and don't be sorry, man. It it is what it is. Um, I spent 4 months, 4 or 5 months, talking to the one guy that I thought was my friend, like a brother, trying to talk to him what was going through his head. It took him damn near 3 months for him to apologize to me for what he did. Well, I no longer talk to him either. Uh, I tossed him out like a sack of potatoes. Well, anyways, while all that was going on, I'm talking to my closest one of my closest friends. I'm talking to her, and you know, dealing, keeping the peace because they were still together, and me and my wife were still together, my first wife, and just came to realization that I had to do an open marriage to keep my marriage going, even though I didn't want one. And so that was that way it was going for the longest time that year. In 2013, it's when that happened. When I found out she cheated on me. So she cheated on me Christmas of 2012. Come the Renaissance, and lo and behold, I started dating my second wife. Me and my second wife, Camilla, actually met in 2004 out at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. And when she first started, I was the one that showed her how to do the job, how to do the money running to the different areas. And she smarted off to me right away and gave me shit. And it's like, I knew this was going to be a one hell of a relationship, you know, a friendship going. And we've been friends ever since. Well, in 2013, I told her what my first wife had done. And we sat and we talked. And, you know, but I got stopped there and back up a year because back in 2012, we were talking about something, and I don't know what brought this up, but we were talking about her dating this person or that person. She was already split from her husband and stuff like that. And I said, if I wanted you, I'd have you right now. You know, so I said that, and she thought I was an arrogant ass for that. Um, but came the next year, and we were talking and starting the date, and she goes, "When you said that, all I thought was you were one hell of a arrogant horn dog." You know, and so we were started dating. I asked her out over Labor Day weekend and just to be friends, just as friends, because she goes, "I'd rather um, you be my a brother than someone I would date." I said, "That's totally fine with me. We'll just go out as friends." And I thank you guys for sitting here with me and listening to me talk more about me, more in depth about me, versus the first 5 minutes of what I've ever done, my very first show. I really appreciate it. And, you know, that was when I realized for the last 2 years of my marriage of my first wife, we weren't in love anymore. We weren't a couple. We were just going through the motions. We were just cohabitating. And our marriage had actually fallen apart 2 years prior. Um, but when me and my current wife started talking and dating, we I realized that's when I loved her. Um, and I realized I loved her for the longest time, and I just didn't know it. She did, but I didn't. And I don't need to tell you what happened on our first date because that's between me and her and stuff. Not much happened though. Um, but yeah, I realized I loved her and asked her to be my woman, and she did, and she said yep, and the rest is history. We met. Actually, we started dating on August 31st of 2013. We got married September 5th, 2015. So if anyone says I don't remember my dates, so I can be in the doghouse for not remembering, it ain't gonna happen. you know. Um, so yeah, we kicked that off, and we've been going strong ever since. And no, I didn't get lucky on my first date. Nope, I absolutely did not. I was a pure gentleman on my first date, and I still am. you know. Um, yeah. And then from there, we went to the JCs to work instead of the festival. But yeah, we had a solid foundation. We knew each other for a long time. She wasn't married anymore. She was separated legally. And my marriage is falling apart. And we started dating in October of that same, in 2013. I asked for my divorce right after the festival was done. And then me and my current wife, we went on after that. And here we are, you know. Yeah, sometimes it takes more than once to hit that, to find that right person. She is my second marriage, and I'm her third. Um, she told me about her first marriage, and that one really wasn't, you know, kids being kids as that time. And then about, I know about her second one. Can't stand the guy. Oh, I can't stand him. Mm, I want to take a 2x4 and knock him alongside the head, see if I can knock common sense into him. We'll just keep it at that. Um, but yeah, sometimes it takes more than one shot to get the right person. You know, there's no disgrace in a divorce. There's no shame in getting a divorce. If things just don't work out, it ain't gonna work out. No matter how hard you try. I tried to save my first marriage so many times. Um, it just wasn't worth it anymore. It was time to move on, and that's what I did. Um, like I said, and now I've been married since 2015 with my second wife. We have a house. She's got three boys. Um, her oldest and her youngest, I have a good, very good relationship with. The middle one, not so much. Nope. A lot of things happened with the middle child that it ruined our relationship. It ruined everything. I'm not going to go into detail on that. Ask me about it some other time, while I'm not on air, and I can give you some details then, but I won't do it here. But we don't have a hardly any relationship at all. Uh, Narcissist, pretty much. Um, Pretty arrogant, a lot like his dad. But anyways, and I've got an excellent relationship with my son and my daughter. I don't haven't been able to talk to my grandkids much, but I see them. They know who I am. They know who Papa is. You know, and so that's pretty much that with the first wife. Was we still talk here and there. Now it's basically once a year, wish each other happy birthday, say a few things, and move on. If we see each other out at the Renaissance Festival, we'll talk a little bit. We'll talk and visit for a while. Um, maybe walk down the lane to a shop or something. Um, Me, Camilla, her, and her two boyfriends, or whichever one she's got with her at the time. Um, so yeah, she's in a poly relationship. I'm in a mono relationship. And the funny thing is her second boyfriend has the same name and looks a lot like me. So what's that tell you? Just saying. But so Camille and I, like I said, we met out the Renaissance in 2004. I'm the one who showed her job duties out there, what she had to do, this, that. We hit it off right away, dated, became married. I've seen her youngest and her middle grow up out there. I've seen her oldest grow up out there as well. He used to work at Traveler Shop and stuff. I love him. I love all three of her kids. You know, the oldest one, he's had his problems. The middle one, he's got going through all of his problems. Um, I'm there minimal for him. I letting him handle this all on his own and keep telling him, go to your dad for this because you told me and on any uncertain terms that I am not your dad. I am I'm basically just a father figure to you. So go to your dad um, for that. The youngest, he lives with us. He pays us rent, and he's got a job right after he left school. He didn't graduate. He's going back for his GED in a little bit later time. Um, COVID really wreaked havoc on him. He's one of them. He has to be in the classroom to learn. He's hands on. He's that type of a person. Plus, he's borderline on the spectrum, and he's ADHD. So he needs that to stay focused, and that was hard for him. So he didn't graduate. Um, but he's a good kid. We're helping him out. He's got a job, paying rent, and he's a very joy to have around. He really is. He jokes around. You can take a he can take a joke. Um, but yeah, you know. But with me and my second wife, me and Camille, we've got a house, we've got two cars, we've got motorcycles. Um, she's the one who got me back into riding uh, because I told her I said I want to ride a motorcycle again. I want to get a bike, and she said let's do it. Had my mom's 2000 Yamaha V Star 1100, and she went and bought a 2007 Kawasaki Vulcan 900. So I'm already on two bikes at this time. She's on one, and I got rid of the V Star because it became unreliable. Because it sat for so long and no one took care of it. So I got it, tried to take care of it, and I just couldn't. It was nickel and diamond me to death. So I went and got a 2011 Kawasaki Vulcan Vaquero in 21. Took it out the Sturgis that year. And this year I just been riding it back and forth to work and doing rides around here. Um, so yeah, I'm on my third bike. She's only on her one, but I've been riding back again since um, 2016. Actually, I've been riding again, and I've been happy ever since. She rides with me with her bike. We do the Dirty Rotten Biker Fest out here, 10 miles from my house. I don't have the 2023 dates yet for that. They're not up. Um, we ride into, um, well, we haven't rode into Stillwater yet, which is it's a biker town. A lot of bikers go there. Um, we'll take the car there, but we haven't taken the bikes yet. It's actually made the news with one club. I ain't gonna say any more than that, but it made the news, and you can't wear your cuts there anymore. But I can because I'm not in a club, so I can wear my cut. I'm in an organization, not a club. So with me, that like I said, I'm up at my current wife, and we've had our ups and downs. We've fought, we've argued, but we love each other, and we've always worked it out. We never go if we go to bed mad. Uh, we talk it out right there before we go to bed, and you know, and we're stronger people because of it. We wouldn't have gotten this far if we don't try. And they say a lot of people know what making love is, and I remember this from American Wedding, where Jim's dad, Eugene Levy, is sitting down with Michelle, and she ain't writing her vows. She didn't. She didn't know what she would say. Say in her vows. So she's talking to Eugene Levy about it, and he says this, one of the best quotes I've ever heard. Why do you think they call it making love? Because you have to make love work. If you're not willing to put in the work to your relationship or your marriage, then what are you doing? You have to make it work. You have to make love work. And this is what me and my wife do every single day. We make it work. We make love work. Um, Not every day is peachy. We have our problems, our ups and downs, but we work it out. We talk, we work, we deal with it. And sometimes it takes more than a day, but we work it out. You know, um, so anything else? Hey, hey, Lori, how you doing, sweetheart? How you doing, sister? Um, you came in when I was talking about Camilla and us. You know, all motorcycles are great. I love that V Star. I love that 1100. Oh my god, I loved it. I loved how low it sat. I loved how it cornered. I loved everything about it. I just um, couldn't stick any more money into it. By the time I sold it, I had, um, my mechanic just put in a new fuel pump, and I it worked fine for a while. But then every time I go try to start it, it would run and then stall. It would just die. Um, and I couldn't keep it running. But if I wait 15, 20 minutes later, go out and start it, it would start right up and it would run. It became very unreliable, so I am not. Um, so I had to get rid of it. Sorry, I had to, but I loved the bike, but I had to get rid of it, and that's when I got the Kawasaki. And I love that bike. I love that bagger. Oh my god, I love it. Just wish it sat a little bit lower, but if you a good rider, any bike, you can handle any bike, and you can turn it, you can do whatever. Is there anything you guys want to know? Any questions? Anything you want to know? Preventing maintenance, yes. Um, But when you had a bike that was sitting for, I got it in 2016. My mom had it in 2003. No, 2010. So when it sat that long, not being taken care of, carbs not being cleaned out, stuff like that, and I do it, and I'm running out. I replaced the the starter. I replaced the starter. I want to say it's a starter clutch. The inside starter part, not the starter itself, but this other starter stuff. Um, I replaced, had that replaced. It blew oil out everywhere. Found out one of the um, spark plugs was cylinders wasn't firing, so I got that taken care of. Um, then the fuel pump, boxers or briefs, boxers all the way. Why? Because it let your shit hang low, um, and you're not as confined. How's the sex after 50? A lot better than when you were 49. I'll tell you that. Um, 53 and still going. Hey, I don't need Viagra to get it up like some people I know. um, Betty or Wilma? Would that be which one I would like to have, which one I would do, or who's my favorite? If it's if it's one I would like to have or whatever, I'll take them both because they're both hot babes for a cartoon, man. I'll take them both. I don't care. I'll have them in my bed. I'll take them both. Um, but individually, um, even though Betty's the more funner, I'd probably take Wilma. Um, she's a little bit more like my current wife, Camilla. She's like Camilla an awful lot. So yeah. Otherwise, I'd take them both. um, but Wilma definitely. I used to have tidy whities when I was a kid, and it just wasn't my thing. Um, Fruit of the Loom, no. I do believe Fred and Barney are a couple. If you ever watch them, yeah, I think they are very much a couple. Um, if they're not, they're very close friends, like we all are. Um, but my favorite would be Barney, because he's the goofy one, but he's also smart. I've gone commando, and it wasn't fun. No. Um, we'll just leave it at that. Something happened. It just was not fun at all. Kazoo. Oh God, that little green Martian. He was a blast. I don't know why they put him in at the end of the Flintstones. The Great Kazoo. Honey, you don't know how big a balls I have. I mean, I'm the type of person that just, yeah, I got some big balls. Shit flies out of my mouth that just I have to catch before I say it. um, the solenoid. That would be the starter. No, I believe it was a starter clutch because they had to pull the cover off. I'd have to lay the bike on its side to remove the kickstand just to get at it to replace it. Bunch of springs and stuff, I do believe. Yeah, undeniable. Bert and Ernie are a couple. That is, hey, Jamin, any more weirder than Discord in the mornings in general chat? It's squashing nuts. I'm going to use that hashtag at some point. No comment. No comment. um, so yeah, I'm very much enjoying being with Camilla. Very much enjoying my 5 kids and my 3 grandkids. I'm very much enjoying life as it is. Um, it's been a couple of years when I decided to go down more deeply into the biker lifestyle wormhole, and I've been enjoying it. I love it this because it's who I am. I am that person. I just haven't been in it deep enough to really, really look inside it. Um, it's me. That's who I am. I don't. I've been relearning a lot of the lingo, stuff like that, terms, but it's all fun. I've got great friends. I've got um, Jamin, my brother. You know, SSW, my brother. I've got all kinds of people that help me out and that I can talk to figure things out. You know, well, we all know who's got the boner in that relationship. um, yeah, um, Gloria, you don't know how kinky. Um, I mean, you want to. Oh God, when Lori and I first met, um, we didn't talk too much because we had just met. Um, but we spent time getting to know each other. We met out the Renaissance, and then I joined the JCs, and we became very good friends. We became close, and Lori and I, we have sat and we have talked quite a bit about anything and everything. Um, you know, one of the last conversations I remember, Lori, with you was before you moved to North Carolina. I asked you why you were moving, and you told me you would tell me later. We never had that conversation, but I respected you for that. I respect you, you know. Um, I was one of them people that really didn't need to know, and it was just one of those things that was okay. You said you'd talk to me later about it. It didn't happen. It wasn't pressing. Um, we I found out a lot later what had happened, and I was there for you, and you needed me. You met Toby, and yeah, I understood. You know, you had your reasons, and I understood. And it's not my story to tell. Uh, I've been, you've been airing your story on your channel, and yeah. And ever since then, Lori and I, we don't talk like what we used to, but we do talk. Um, she voices her stuff out on her channel, and so I listen to her there, and I comment. We'll talk. Um, she's got a goofy little bird. Oh God, he's very vocal too. um, we started talking out at the Renaissance, and she has already known Camilla, and Camilla told her we were dating, and she was very happy for us. She didn't wasn't come up and say, if you hurt her feelings, I'm going to kick your ass or anything. All you told me was treat her right, just treat her right, and that's what I've done. Um, I remember you doing QC sometimes out there. Um, when I joined the JCs through a mutual friend, that's when we got to know each other even more. And you did all kinds of volunteering. Um, God, I can't even think of half the things you've done. But I remember looking at you with the stuff you're doing and going, I want to be a lot. I want to be like her. I want to be that volunteer. And I'm not half the volunteer you are, Lori. I'm not. Although I've done a lot of it, you're still the one I look up to when it comes to that, because I want to be like that. I want to be like you. I want to be that person. And I strive every day to be that person. You know, yes, you were. And I think that was before my time. Shortly before I joined, I think you were chapter president. You got to tell, um, I'm not even sure if he was in the chapter, still part of the chapter at that time. Mr. PB initials, because he tells a lot of stories, man. He tells a lot of stories. Yep, I remember all that. The chapter grew beyond leaps and bounds, and wow. Um, yes, you are, Laurie. You're all that and more. You got one hell of integrity. You're that person. Um, it's easy when you think about it, you're not all that, but when someone else tells you, you are. I don't. I like the people I talk to. I like the people that I hang out with, and you know, they're the ones who get my time. They're the ones who get to know me, and I get to know them. But, you know, I think I know some people in North Carolina that I ain't gonna set you up. No, but I can kind of push them that way. No, I wouldn't do that to you, sweetie. I wouldn't do that to you. Um, There's a lot of single biker men out there in North Carolina that would be very happy to have you. I know that. Um, I know, I know. Um, I love talking and joking around with you. Um, so that being the current as it is, that's how I became a biker. I grew up in the lifestyle. Um, I took about a 20-year hiatus from it because of my first wife. I got back into it, and I'm going strong. I've got. I'm thinking about getting back into motorcycle mechanics, taking an online class for that. I've got my father-in-law's old cameras sitting across from me the couch with a tripod. He's got these very old cameras that he's collected and kept, and I'm thinking of. I'm not going to sell them. I'm going to look through them, see what's there, and I think I'm going to find a museum that would be happy to take them and give them the proper love and care that they deserve. These are really old ones, and they really need to be into a museum or something to um, where they'll be appreciated. You know, uh, so I got all his records: 78s, 33s, no 45s, um, cameras. I also brought home. I'm also a ham radio operator. If any of you didn't know this, SSW, you knew this. Um, Picked up. I want to say it's a Hellcrafter, HAL. I wanted to say it was a Hellcrafter. It's a Hellcrafter. May have gotten the name mispronounced, but it's a shortwave radio. Goes all the way up to 10 meter SSW. You know what I'm talking about. Throat's starting to get a little scratchy. Um, I picked that up. It's from 1955 to 60, I do believe it's the years. It's an old tube, shortwave radio. I've got a speaker with it and another, I want to say it's a tuner with it. Um, I'm going to plug it in and see if I can get it working, uh, get it cleaned up, and see if I can get it working and see what I can find on that. Um, it's really super old, but maybe I'll post a picture on it of it somewhere, maybe on Facebook or maybe on Discord. Um, I'll do that. But anything else anybody wants to know? Right now, I'm an open book. I pretty much poured almost all my whole life out. And I think if I'm looking on the shelf, one of the nutcrackers I've got Camilla, I think is dressed in biker style. I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah, I can do that. I can put it out in a short. Yeah, I can definitely do that. You know. So here are my plans for the near future. Um, I'm going to dress as Santa. I've been starting to do that the last couple of years, and I'm going to read Christmas stories. Go live here on my channel and read Christmas stories. Um, Something that would people with kids can sit and enjoy, the kids can enjoy and see Santa. I'm going to do my goatee, my hair, because I'm bald on top. I take my hair out of the ponytail, spray, and white hairspray. If it doesn't work out on a run, I will put the beard on and stuff like that. Um, Helicrafters, yes, that is what that is. Helicrafters. Um, it was by a whim that I came across that over the weekend and told my mother-in-law that I would take that off her hands for her since I know what it was and I'm a ham radio operator. And she said, "Take it, please." She didn't know what to do with it, so I don't think it is. I'll have to look more closely. I haven't looked really closely at it. Um, I know there's no spot for a mic. Um, that I know. There is a headphones jack, but I don't think it's a VFO. Um, I'll look at it closer and I'll let you know on that. But I'm going to be doing Santa um, on the channel. I'm not into going to meeting kids or going to houses yet. I'm not that good. I'm not that believable when it comes to in person, but when I'm on screen, I can do that. Come Christmas Eve, I want to stand outside in my Santa outfit and wave at cars going passing by. I think people will get a kick out of that, and it would bring a lot of smiles and happiness to people. Um, it's one thing I'm about is making people laugh and making people smile. Lori, you know all about that. um, so yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. Um, like I said, if you want to know anything about me, just come and ask me. I'll tell you. Um, if it's not any something you need to know, I'll tell you that too. But my throat is getting scratchy, and I'm not going to be able to talk for very much longer as I keep coughing. Um, if I don't want to throw candy at cars as they go by, because that can be a hazard, and I can get in trouble for that. And I don't want to be a bad Santa. I want to be a good Santa. Um, maybe I can have a bowl of candy sitting out, but that'd be kind of creepy to take candy from a Santa out in front of his house. So, yeah, if you want to know something about me, just reach out and say something. Drop a comment after the stream or whatever. Just drop a comment with a question. I'll answer it. Um, I'm not going to ask you to like, subscribe, or share because if you're here watching, you pretty much are. Um, I just thank you all for coming out and hearing what I had to say and getting to know a little bit more about me. I really, really appreciate it. Um, y'all have a great night and y'all be a decent human and just be the best you can be. And don't forget, I'm going to have a Christmas show coming up on this channel and on the biker channel, the Biker Roadhouse. So we'll catch y'all in about a week's time or so. Y'all have a good night. Be safe.